Hello and welcome to NoCast by CMUBS, the podcast where knowledge meets inspiration. I'm your host, and I'm here to take you on a journey through ideas, insights, and stories that shape the world of business, research, and innovation. Each episode, we bring you thoughtful conversations, practical wisdom, and perspectives from experts and changemakers. Whether you're a student, a researcher, or simply someone who loves learning, this is your space to explore, grow, and stay inspired. Thank you for tuning in. Let's dive into today's episode and discover something worth knowing.
Today, we're digging into a really fascinating story about community, sustainability, and, well, your pets. It all kicks off with one very, very surprising ingredient that could totally reinvent the pet food you see on the shelf. Okay, so let me start with a question for all the pet owners listening. Have you ever actually stopped and read the super fine print on the back of your dog's favorite treats? If you have, I bet you found a few things that made you go, The reality is, a lot of commercial treats use, cost-effective fillers and byproducts from meat processing to keep prices down. But there's a new way of thinking bubbling up, one that's all about natural, sustainable, and genuinely nutritious ingredients for our four-legged family members. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today. So here's our roadmap. We'll look at what's really in our pet's food, then reveal a pretty surprising new protein source. We'll meet the community behind this big idea and ask the big question, will people actually buy it? Then we'll check out their blueprint for success and finally zoom out to see what this could all mean for the future of food. First up, what's really in the food bowl? Well, the answer starts with a huge cultural change. I'm talking about the rise of the pet parent. There's actually a term for this. It's called pet humanization. More and more, especially in places like Thailand, where our story is based, people don't just see pets as animals anymore. They see them as real, integral members of the family. And it makes sense, right? When you think of your dog as family, you start to care a whole lot more about what you're feeding them. And that brings us right to the core of the problem. You see, to keep costs low, a lot of the mass market treats use things like bone meal and other residual materials. And while they might get the job done, there are worries about potential long-term health issues. And that's exactly what today's informed pet parents are trying to get away from. This growing concern has really opened the door for some incredible innovation. Which brings us to our next section, a truly surprising and sustainable super ingredient. So what's the answer? It's crickets. Yep, you heard that right. Cricket protein is emerging as this powerful, sustainable, and super nutritious alternative for pet food. It's a total game changer. Okay, so why crickets? Well, for one, they're a nutritional powerhouse, just packed with protein. They're also really easy to farm. But maybe most importantly, their environmental footprint is tiny compared to traditional livestock. All of that makes them a really, really attractive option. But an idea is only as good as the people who actually make it happen. So let's shift gears and meet the innovators who are bringing these cricket treats to life. And the cool thing here is, we're not talking about some giant corporation. We're talking about a community enterprise. You can think of it as a business model that's all about empowering local people, using local resources, and creating economic growth from the ground up. The specific group we're talking about is the organic farming community enterprise of Ban Mae Tad. They're in Chiang Mai, Thailand. This community was already deep into sustainable agriculture, and they spotted this amazing opportunity to use their local cricket farming to create something new and valuable. Now, this all sounds great in theory, but it all comes down to the million-dollar question, doesn't it? It's time for a reality check on the market. Are people actually going to buy this? So is there a real, honest-to-goodness market for dog treats made out of crickets? That's exactly what the researchers behind this study wanted to find out. So they went and surveyed 400 pet owners in Thailand. And the answer they got back was pretty incredible. A whopping 83% of pet owners said they were willing to buy cricket-based treats. That's not just a niche market. That's a huge signal that people are really open to this kind of innovation. An 83% approval rating is fantastic, right? But what are the specific things that take someone from, I might buy that, to actually pulling out their wallet and saying yes? The research really boiled it down to two key drivers. First, a good perception of the price. If people feel like it's a fair value, the chance they'll buy it jumps by over 60%. And second, and just as important, is a good perception of the product's quality. That boosts the odds by over 55%. So at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. It all comes down to quality and value. Okay, so knowing what your customers want is step one, but having a plan to actually deliver it, that's a whole other ballgame. Let's take a look at this community's game plan. The research kind of maps out the whole playing field for them. On the inside, their big strength is having that local supply of crickets and government support. On the outside, their huge opportunity is that growing pet parent market. But they also have weaknesses, like the fact that production is still manual and they face a major threat from the big, established brands. So based on all that, the paper helps build this really clear three-step plan. Step 1, define your value. These are high-nutrition, natural, local treats. Step 2, know your customer. It's that health-conscious pet parent. And step 3, build the right channels to reach them, using a smart mix of online stores and social media, plus offline partners like local pet shops and vets. This is just such a brilliant example of how a small community can punch above its weight with a smart strategy. But this story is really about more than just dog treats. It's pointing to something much bigger about the future of our entire food system. You know, as the researchers themselves put it, community businesses like this one are playing a bigger and bigger role in economic development from the ground up. This isn't just one company's story. It's a potential blueprint for how local communities can build sustainable futures for themselves. So, to wrap it all up, let's hit the 3 key takeaways. First, big cultural shifts, like the way we see our pets, open up massive new markets. Second, small communities absolutely can compete with the big guys if they leverage what's unique to them and use a smart, data-driven strategy. And third, the future of food, both for our pets and for us, might just have some pretty surprising ingredients in store. And that leaves us with one last thing to chew on. This community started by totally rethinking what we feed our pets. So it makes you wonder, if we can successfully reinvent food for them using sustainable local ingredients, what's coming next for what's on our own plates?
Thank you for joining us on NoCast by CMUBS. We hope today's episode sparked new ideas and inspired your next steps. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to follow our podcast and stay connected so you won't miss the insights, stories, and meaningful discussions coming up next. Until then, keep learning, keep exploring, and see you in the next episode.